Welcome to Wellbeing Weekly, and today's topic is food. Let's talk food. And I thought we've had Wellbeing Weekly running for several weeks now, and we can't really talk about well-being if we don't talk about the basic thing that nourishes us, and that is our food. So I thought it was well past time for us to be talking about food. And there's always so many interesting topics that we haven't been idle. And all the replays are available via my webpage anyway, margaretlambert.com. There's the latest blab is there for Wellbeing Weekly and all the other blabs and periscopes, and a link to all of the other topics that we've had. So we're here this week and finally getting to talk about food. And one thing that I often think, like it's in my face, I think it's in everyone's face at the moment, are all the food shows. The number of chef shows and team shows to do with cooking. I think nearly every channel on our television stations has a cooking show, and it has raised the profile of food enormously. And I wonder about that because I'm not a food viewer. I don't go looking for those food shows, and I actually turn them off. If it's whatever show it is, I don't even know the names of them. But whenever a food show comes on, I flick the channel, and I'm not much of a TV viewer anyway. But if it comes after the news, or I might be interested in having a bit of a laugh, they're the types of shows I like, or something that might be innovation or a debate like Q&A. They're the shows that interest me. But if a cooking one pops up, well, that's the end of me. I'm done. And yet my children, the cooking shows are the only shows that they will watch on the television. And I think that's amazing. I have absolutely no interest in them. And I think it's amazing that it's taken off in such a big way to have it highlighted on every single channel. So, yeah, I'm interested in other people's perspective because it's not on my radar. Hey.
Hello.
How are you, gorgeous?
Good. How are you? I'm parked up. I am in the car.
You are so clever. I wouldn't know how to do what you're doing.
Well,
in a car.
funny we're talking about food because I'm actually food shopping today, so I thought it was pretty funny and I had to join in. I'm sitting outside of Greenies right now, our only organic food shopping.
My favourite shop. Yeah.
So I thought, before I go in, I better jump in and say hi.
Good on you.
I know, because I often miss your Wednesday blab because this is my town day. And Friday, sometimes I try and get in on a Friday, but it's a bit hard with clients. So, but I've missed your blabs, Marg.
Yeah. That's okay. We love having you whenever you can pop in.
So yeah, sorry to interrupt. So yeah, go ahead. I'm listening to you about the shows.
Well, while you're at Greenies, tell us about Greenies because it's my favourite shop in Darwin for food.
Well,
so
it's our only organic shop that try and focus on good produce and I guess grocery items and fruit and vegetable items and a little bit of meat and frozen stuff. So yeah, they're good. They're local, and I like to support local businesses. And I just have a bit of a run. There's a couple of butchers I go to and get things that work for me. So yeah, it's good. Greenies is good. It's run by Ursula and Greenie, and they're lovely. They'll try and get anything you need if they don't have it. So yeah. They've been around for a long time.
Yeah, that's great. There's often the comment made that buying organic is very expensive, and if you've got a family, which you have, Kathleen, you're raising little ones now, and and a husband, and so it's a full family set of mouths.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
it can be. It's definitely a little extra on the food bill every week, but food is I'm a bit of a foodie. It's a big priority in my life because it is how we nourish ourselves. So since I've always wanted to try and buy the best produce I can get. So I guess it's really about what I prioritize. Like, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't go out much, that's where my money goes. I mean, you'd probably cringe if I told you my food bill every week. There's 6 of us, so I have myself, my husband, my 3 children, my dad, and it's a huge bill. And Darwin, it is a little bit more expensive up here because we also have freight.
Yes,
keep
freight.
talking. Freight is really big up here, so plus freight.
And the freight, did you hear a freight truck turned over south of Mataranka this morning?
Yeah, there's signs up in Woolies actually the other day saying, sorry, we're missing some produce. So they're trying their best to get it in. So, and, when it's a wet season's coming up, so if a cyclone hits and trucks can't get through, freight is an issue. So I'm emphasising freight.
A lot of supermarkets are now selling organic produce. Our local supermarket has, and so that you can just buy, say, a pack of zucchini. Everything's wrapped, because even individual fruit things are wrapped because they have to.
Yes,
it's like the bane of my existence when I go into Woolies. I hate it so much, but sometimes I do buy it because I actually go, as a health coach, there's one thing that I tell my clients when they're talking about whether they should buy organic or not, is it really a big difference? So I give them a list called the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. So the Dirty Dozen is a dozen of the fruits and vegetables that are really affected by pesticides that are sprayed quite heavily that I tried to avoid. I couldn't tell you them all off the top of my head. I should be able to now, but I'm a little bit tired today. And the Clean 15 are ones that are not so much affected or not so heavily sprayed. So then they've got a bit of a choice, because yes, it is a little bit more expensive to buy organic, and some people can't afford such a big bill every week. So, but again, it is what you prioritize, where you put your dollars, I suppose. And and it makes a difference where we spend our money because, if we're not giving it to the bigger corporations or people that are spraying and that's what we want, then it kind of, tells them a story and hopefully they'll, like Woolies and Coles trying to have organic produce. It's a shame it's all wrapped in plastic and, I'm trying to educate my butcher at the moment when he pulls out his black styrofoam tray to put my nice fresh cut meat, and I go, no, put that back. I don't want one of them. But it's important to me. It is important to me where my food comes from, but I don't always have a great choice up here. So I just try and make the best choice that I can with what's in front of me.
And I think you mentioned that I think Margaret mentioned that you have children and that therefore, it's an extra, you've got a whole family to feed. But I would say that that's even more reason to go organic and go non-pesticides. If you've got young mouths, young growing bodies, the last thing you want to do is put pesticides in their bodies.
Absolutely. And that is really what motivates me. I've always been interested in health. And I have wanted to try and do the right by myself. My body's talked to me a little bit over the years and I've been kind of pushed in certain directions to be healthy. But really my children is my big motivation because I want what's best for them, and there's just, we don't do packaged processed foods. I cook from scratch. I make my own stocks. I really do try very hard to teach them and talk to them about different things. We watch a few documentaries together, even though, I've got teenagers, so I get a lot of eye rolls and, we're kind of even down to the fact that what they put on their skin and what they're using now with low tox items. And, I've done Alex Stewart's low tox course. So it's even coming to, what they're brushing their teeth with, what they're washing their hair with. So we're going through all that as well. We're fine tuning that. And again, I'm getting a lot of eye rolls, but you know, I'm getting there. I'm just pushing through, and that actually is making a difference, and they can see and feel a difference. So, you know, when I took certain things out of our household, I think the first thing was sugar and wheat. My oldest daughter broke out in a rash for 3 weeks. You know, her body was detoxing and, you know, she was really affected. Yeah. And it took a good few weeks for it to settle down. And then, you know, and there was a lot of whinging and whining about not having this and not having that. But once they kind of got over it, I remember my daughter, I think my first thing was her coming to me and going, Mum, look at my nails. Like, they're really strong and they look really good. And my skin's feeling a bit better and I haven't got as many pimples. And so I, you know, once they started to feel the effects, it was like, oh, maybe she's onto something here. So, you know, I always say that to parents, you've got to persevere. You just got to, especially when you make the changes when they're older and, you know, they've got things to miss, you know, and they can compare or they do know, you know, what they used to have to what they have now. So, yeah, it's been an interesting ride. I've been very, very mindful.
She's frozen there.
Very fine-tuning.
Okay. Yeah, bad reception there, I think. It's not, we're not frozen, are we?
No, here we go.
No,
hey,
you're back. Good. I'm back. Yeah, sorry. I must be, I didn't know how long this would work for because, you know.
It was fantastic. Yeah, very clever. Yeah. Talking about the cost of shopping organically, I heard the question asked or the statement made, it's not so much a question about how expensive organic food is, more the case is, or why is organic food so expensive? The question really to be asked is, why is non-organic food so cheap? And that's, to me, that says something. That says it all. You know, it's mutilated, added to in so many ways.
Yeah. But isn't it something also to do with? I'm not actually 100% sure in Australia, but I know when I've watched documentaries, and it's been in America, there a lot of government subsidizing, so you know, it actually brings the price down of like corn and certain, you know, fruits and vegetables, and I don't really understand it. I mean, I'm not far from an expert with that sort of stuff, but I wonder if how much of that goes on about it here, like whether the government subsidizes certain farming and, you know, makes it a little bit cheaper. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, I saw a great cartoon not too long ago, and the two grandmothers were talking to each other, and they were saying, oh, in my day, organic food used to be called food.
I love that.
Yeah, isn't that great? But now it's organic food. We have to describe it. We have to describe real food with the adjective, because the non-real food or the watered down food or the sprayed food or whatever gets the title food.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Much the same as alternative medicine, isn't it? You know, that was the only type of medicine there was until Western medicine came about 100, 200 years ago, or however long it's been around. So, but prior to that, everything was alternative medicine, but it was the mainstream.
It was medicine.
So mainstream medicine or Western medicine has now overridden that, and now alternative medicine is an alternative to the mainstream. It's crazy.
Yeah,
that's just the bizarre world we live in.
So, Kathleen, before I'll get you to answer before you might have to shoot off with your reception and all of that, but what do you think of all the food shows, the TV food shows?
Well, I don't mind I don't mind them because I'm always looking for inspiration. I get a little bit, I get a bit flat, but probably especially this time of the year when it's so hot, to cook, you know, all the time. You know, I get up and cook my kids breakfast and then make lunch boxes and then, you know, make my dad lunch and then, you know, think about what's for dinner. So it's really, that keeps me very busy. So, and I get a bit over it and I get a little bit bored with it. So I guess the cooking shows, if there's good personalities there, it's kind of about inspiration for me. It's kind of motivating me to maybe try something new. Or not all the food shows really relate to the way I eat, but the way I eat, it's easy to kind of, fiddle around and exchange the alternate things and take things out that I don't have to have in. So so for me, I like a good cooking show. I find it very inspiring and motivating. So I don't think my kids always go, you should go on one. I'm like, oh no, I can't cook under pressure. Like I just couldn't do it.
Well, you don't know.
No, I don't think I'd like to. It's just if I'm going to cook something really elaborate, you just got to take your time, and it'd just be like, pressure? No way, go away. Yeah. I'd probably punch someone. Some judge would come up and say something and be like, go away.
Well, that's interesting. That's a similar response to what my daughters say about the food shows. They absolutely love them. And
they're good fun.
Yeah, and they love the inspiration. One in particular really enjoys trying new things and getting ideas. And she's always experimenting with food, and it's only the organic food. She won't have anything. She's very into organic and non-processed foods of any sort. Still looking for inspiration on how to make things a bit interesting.
Well, I just went down to Melbourne recently and stayed with a fellow health coach down there that I did the course with, and we did 2 little lunchbox talks while we were down there, one at a kindergarten and one at a primary school, because when you talk about kids and processed foods, and school lunches and tuck shops, it's pretty tricky. People are very time poor. They're looking for convenience, but they also want to know that their kids are being sustained and nourished throughout the day. And a lot of normal everyday lunch boxes are filled with a packet of this and a packet of that. And not to say it in any judgmental way, because I've been there myself. You throw in a packet of this and a packet of that with a sandwich or a juice, and you think that you're doing the right thing because that's what we're led to believe with standard Australian dietary advice. So it's been a real journey for me with that sort of stuff. So it was really nice to go down and do a couple of little talks and listen to other parents. And the biggest thing around food is time. People don't have time to prepare and make stuff. Affordability, like you say, like people want to buy good produce, but it can get very expensive and out of their budget. And just not having the confidence in the kitchen. Like some people just don't know how to cook, which is, they just they've lost the art. Like families kind of lost the art through the generations of making stuff from scratch. I certainly didn't learn it all from my parents, like we grew up meat and 3 veg but it wasn't like we were invited in the kitchen and shown how to cook, and we were just fed like, I'm one of 5 kids, so it was a busy household, and you sat at the table and all ate together, but mum and dad didn't really go, well, come on, I'll show you how to peel a potato and cook a roast. I used to watch, but we weren't really taught. So I'm kind of hoping I can see how I kind of do it with my kids. I just want to get it done. But now I'm trying to be more mindful of come on, you're going to help me chop this up and come and do this, and, not get so caught up in the fact that you've just got to get it done and get them fed, because they need to be a part of it.
When you spoke about making their lunches, I thought, geez, how old are they? Can't they make their own lunch yet? My mum made me make my own lunch at age 8. She says, right, that's it. If you want lunch, you're going to make it yourself.
Yeah, no, well, it's not like a sandwich. I get up early and do yoga, and so I roast off some chicken wings, and I make a few things the night before. They could probably put it together themselves, but while they're eating breakfast, I just do it because they've got a bus to catch and stuff like that. But so I'll kind of cook a few things while I'm doing yoga, and then get that into their lunchbox as well. The eggs and everything are getting cooked for brekkie. So again, it's just easier for me to do it rather than have a 9 and a 13 and a 15-year-old getting in each other's way, and then an argument starts. And like I pick my battles, Vin. I pick my battles.
Oh, it's amazing. Sounds like you've got a busy household there.
I'd love just to say one thing about food, because there are so many food theories out there. I think everyone needs to take a big, deep breath, and we can get very overzealous about what we're doing because it's feeling really good and it's working for us. And I think the biggest thing, like if there was something I could leave with, would be that, bio-individuality is a big thing that I learnt about through health coaching, and that just means one man's food is another man's poison. So I do think we need to stop and respect and think about that what we're doing might be really serving us and nourishing us, but it doesn't necessarily mean the next person or a member of the family or someone who's having a few issues that it's going to do the right thing by them as well. It's good to share what's going on with you and where you are, like with whatever you're eating and how it's working for you. But I think we just need to kind of take a breath and leave it with them. And if they, if other people want to try something you're doing or give it a go and it doesn't work, we need to respect that maybe it's just not right for them, because there seems to be a lot of judgment around food and the way people eat, and it can really, I'm surprised, people aren't on here, like a lot more people aren't jumping on here and throwing their 2 cents worth in when it comes to food. It can be a great debate.
Everyone's got an opinion. That's so, I mean, I thought it would have been a popular one too. I've had a few things thrown at me over the last couple of years. Like I pretty much live a low carb, high fat lifestyle, and I try and get my produce from really good sources. Some of the comments I've had and like the things, and especially as an energy healer, then I'm in the circles of people that are vegetarians and vegans who I deeply respect. It's funny just, the things that kind of get thrown at me about the way I eat and what I do. It's just, so I just kind of think, diets and food, it can be a tricky subject, but, I think we just do need to remember that everyone is different and there are different ways that we can nourish ourselves, and we need to be respectful of the way people choose to do that, because I've never felt better in my life. I've never felt more grounded and more intuitive in my life than I do right now. So, it's working for me.
Hey, Chef.
Hey, how you doing?
Fantastic. Hello.
Chef Dennis.
Hey, Chef.
How are y'all? Good to see you.
Thanks. Yay. Good to see you. I'm glad you commented on that, Kathleen, because that was one of the questions I was going to pose to whoever's here, is the question about, what do you think about all the diets? Should we be following a Paleo or an Atkins or a vegan or a vegetarian? That there are so many different ways to present the concept of this set of foods that are going to do amazing things for you. And I'm just wondering, what are people's thoughts on that? But Kathleen, we've heard from you, so that's great. Chef, maybe if you can give us your
perhaps you could give us a little bit of an
that.
Intro to what you do, Chef Janice.
All right. Well, I am a retired chef right now. I'm a food blogger and a travel blogger, and I'm enjoying the life that I've kind of got myself into now, just going around and eating and visiting and having a good time. Although I'm working more now that I'm retired, I think, than I was when I was actually working. But, I recently lost a pretty good amount of weight. I tried to change how I eat and went to eating more healthy foods. And there were things that I didn't eat. Like I had not eaten beef in 20 years. It was just something that I stopped eating, and I never went back to it. And when I lost the weight, I decided that I was going to eat everything, only in smaller portions and in moderation. So I've had beef a couple times. I haven't gone hog wild with it or anything, because I honestly wasn't a big beef eater to begin with. It was hamburgers that were the thing for me. So I've had a couple real hamburgers. But it's having gone to a ShiftCon, which was a conference for a healthy lifestyle this year and last year. And last year was my awakening when I was there and listening to them speak about all the different things. I went there just because I love Leah Segedy, who ran it. Didn't really care about the organic movement or this and that. And as I'm listening, I went, too many times I went, what? They're doing what to our food? They're adding this to what? And it's like, it was just really eye-opening for me. And that's what started my journey to doing. And I've gone gluten-free for a while, saw some great results from that, but it was just really hard to do. And it wasn't something I needed to do. I don't have celiac. I was just eating way too much gluten. So I've cut back, and I found some very good gluten alternatives. Pasta, Barilla makes a great gluten-free pasta, good gluten-free bread. So whenever I can, I eat gluten-free. I just don't eat as much gluten as I had. But, you're talking about paleo and all these different kinds of diets. And I think what I have heard being in the industry and being a blogger for so long and having so many friends in different areas is that everybody kind of finds their path. And finds what works for them. And a one-size-fits-all with food just does not exist.
Yeah, I agree.
And, and it comes down to your lifestyle, your thought process, and what you can accept. Like one thing I learned on this diet that at my age took me all this time to realize was it was okay to be hungry. Okay. That was like a concept. Like my wife would say, no, it's too late to eat. And I'm going, what do you mean it's too late to eat? It's never too late to eat. But now I understand that. And so I'll be hungry, but I know it's okay to be hungry now. It's not going to kill me.
Yeah. Yeah, I find it funny when people go, I'm starving.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't really think we know what starving means. We're so blessed.
Often a glass of water or a couple of almonds can last me for another 2 hours.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of the times when we're hungry, it's actually a bit of a sign of dehydration. So, if you think you're hungry, sometimes it's because you're really thirsty.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of times with me,
definitely.
So start with a glass of water.
Especially if you haven't eaten too far before that, you're still hungry. And then, I agree with Chef Dennis, though. It's definitely a lot of dietary theories out there, and, one size doesn't fit all. And I don't like to say the word genetics, but I think maybe where you've come from, where you live also, makes a big difference of what you can tolerate. Because, I look at different countries that there's a lot of countries that live mainly on rice, and I just that wouldn't work for me. I couldn't do it. So I just look at them and they all seem happy and healthy, and so I think it kind of is where you come from as well as all the other things that make a difference.
I was discussing this in the lead up to this morning, as I was discussing it with my partner. I was thinking, with genetics, a lot of people talk about you should eat the food that your genetics, like if I'm from Europe, so I should be eating a European diet, even though I'm in sunny tropical Australia, perhaps,
Yeah.
And they say, well, you've had thousands or millions of years of your genes being in this region of the world for only, for so long, and it's only in the last couple of 100 years that you've moved away, and so really your genes are saying you should be eating a European diet. But we've had fluctuations and changes, as it was pointed out to me by my partner. It's like, well, it wasn't just the 200 years, but that's always been the case. For example, my mother is blue-eyed, blonde-haired. My father's dark, so that even just my mum and dad have got two different gene pools. So, I would think perhaps maybe your current location and where the origin of the food comes from is perhaps a more important factor.
Yeah, definitely. And we've kind of lost that, we don't really know what's in season because things are so available. Like I can walk into Woolies in Darwin, Australia, and I know oranges aren't in season, but we've got oranges from America, and grapes from America. And, it's out of our season, but we still, it's just they're making it so we can have anything available anytime. And I think that's a bit sad because it'd be really nice to cook and eat in season, and especially for where you actually live, like living in not tropical Australia, and it's our build-up time. So it's extremely hot and humid, and this is when mangoes are in season, and apparently mangoes help to cool your body down. So, that's why they grow this time of the year. So there's certain things that food does for us at certain times of the year, and I think if you follow like an Ayurvedic kind of diet, you learn more about that as well. So I find that interesting. But, we've kind of lost some things I don't even know when they're in season.
Oh, yeah.
Because
That's what I was going to say also,
Yeah.
was that you've got those three body
Yeah.
types. What is it? Kappa, Vita, and Pitta, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, that's a very similar sort of concept that you need to, you are of a certain body type or background, so you need to have this type of food.
Yeah. And then you've got the blood type diet. Have you heard of that one? Depending on what type of blood. Yeah, there's like, if you're a particular blood type, then there's certain foods. Yeah, then there's certain foods you should avoid.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so that's kind of one that we looked at in my health coaching training. So yeah, that was. I mean, it's all very interesting, and you can see how people come up with different theories. But again, I think if you're at the end of the day, if something feels like it resonates with you, then I would suggest give it a go, and like really learn to connect in with your body and see how what food does to you, how it makes you feel, how you react to things, and keep a little bit of a diary as a reflection tool, and you soon learn what's good and what's not for you. So
one thing I suggest to people I work with that have chronic conditions is to get food intolerance tested, because I think food is such an important part of who we are and the conditions that we have going on with our health. And we may not always know which foods don't agree with us, or which foods are simply not doing anything for us. We're taking them in, but there's very little absorption going on with our particular metabolic type, perhaps, or for whatever reason. And so we may be filling up on these foods, getting no reaction, adverse reaction, so we don't know to stay away from them, but we're sluggish. We have low energy. We've got this condition that's chronic. I just can't get through it. And I came across that through my own personal experience of chronic illness. And at one stage I heard about this medical naturopath who does blood plasma testing for foods, around 50, 60 foods. And so I went ahead and did the testing, and lo and behold, one of my favourite foods, corn, is on my enemy list. And my number one enemy. Now, I never got a reaction from that. I wouldn't have known. But there's a whole lot of other things that I have mild intolerances to. Since I've eradicated those from my diet, my energy level has ramped up to another level and is more sustained. So I do think that we can do the elimination or the vigilance testing ourselves, but we actually don't know all of the results that food might have within our system, within our digestive or absorption system. So I think that's I do recommend that people, if they're struggling with chronic conditions,
absolutely,
that they
I went
get
to a
onto that.
naturopath as a result of ShiftCon because I had talked to one there, and she was holding my hand and was telling me things and was healing, was doing some spot healing. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And I went to a naturopath, and my naturopath ended up being not only a naturopath, but she started as an MD, became a psychiatrist, and then became a naturopath. So she was really
cool.
But he tested things that
How
I'm
interesting.
going, why didn't my regular doctor ever test this? In the States, we hear all this leaky gut. Everyone's got leaky gut, and that was part of my problem. And she found out I was also allergic to soy and allergic to cow milk casein. And almost everything we eat has soy in it here. It's so.
Yeah, there's a government subsidized product.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, and corn. Yeah.
And soy is one of mine as well. One of my enemies. So very hard to detect these things, and unless you go much further into it.
No,
so
I was just
then
say, I love the work of Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride. She's the GAPS doctor. So she's a doctor as well, but she's written a book called GAPS. It's Gut and Psychology Syndrome. So it is just talking a lot about gut health and the gut being like a second brain and the connection between, you know, like mental health as well as physical health. So I love her work. If you ever come across stuff of hers, it's really worthwhile. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Good
Vin.
one. Yeah, thanks. No, I was just going to ask Vin. We haven't heard your views on the food
I do have
shows.
some thoughts on those because, like you, Margaret, I don't like them at all, and whenever I see them, I turn them off. I don't. It's not that I don't like them. They just really have no interest to me, and I don't watch much TV either, like you. So the only time I turn the TV on is specifically to watch a program that I've seen in the TV guide that I want to watch, and then when that show's over, I turn it off. So I rarely actually get to see food TV shows accidentally.
Okay.
But, you know, there's a funny thing happening here because, as we know, as Kathleen's been saying, that there's a time factor. Most of us just don't have time. So we find that this is particularly true in America more so than in Australia, but we're only, you know, very couple of steps behind America, and we follow very closely. So I assume it's going to be the case here too. But so many people don't make their own food, and they just eat takeaway all the time because it's easier. It's probably actually a lot cheaper in America than here. Our budgets don't allow us to eat takeaway every night because it's so expensive. But you know, so you've got this younger generation growing up with the concept of never having to cook anything because you just buy it. And yet we've got TV shows like the one that comes to my mind. I don't know any of them either, but the only one that does come to my mind is Jamie Oliver, and he's done some pretty decent work in England in the schools in educating children and actual education of schools to have a healthier supply of food in the canteens and things at schools, and to have kids eating proper lunches because it's very important for their health. So, you know, while I don't like these cooking shows, I think ones such as Jamie Oliver's have done a huge amount of benefit for, you know, giving the youth nutritional meals.
Yeah, I agree. I liked his show, and I liked Pete Evans did bring a show out called The Paleo Way, and you know, while I don't follow that to the letter, it was still good because it's all about whole foods and just different things that you can try. And he also, you know, would interview different people like doctors and, you know, he was over in America filming as well. So come across some amazing people and got to talk to a lot of amazing people. So they're the kind of food shows I really like. I don't mind watching a few others if the kids are watching them. I'll kind of catch a little bit here and there, but I try not to watch too much television, but I just don't like the pressure everyone's under. You know, there's just something about it, and it's just, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right.
So how does a chef respond to those?
I was at a conference and the guy turns to me and says, "Yeah, would you like to be on Chopped? I can get you on Chopped." And I turned to him and said, "No, thank you. You know, I just really don't want to be on Chopped. I appreciate that. And maybe if I was younger, yes. But at this stage of my life, you know, Gordon Ramsay would be going, "Oh my God, did he say that?" You know, because I would not be a happy camper on the show if they started screwing with me. And that's basically all they are. They're not real situations. It's all set for TV most of the time.
Absolutely.
It's entertainment. And, you know, people are infatuated with food because they don't make it. So they like to see people that do make it, and that's where the entertainment factor comes in. And it's any of these reality shows. I mean, how real are they really? They're not reality. You know, they're staged. But that
definitely.
I do like some of them.
They're very contrived,
and that they do cook. And actually, my two favorite. Well, I like diners, dives, and drive-ins and dives. Guy Fieri, only because he eats some of the most outrageously. If you ate that way every day, you'd be dead because it's greasy, it's gooey, it's fatty, it's just insanely delicious. But you can't eat that way all the time. And then, of course, I like Giada because I like Giada, not because she cooks anything. You know, so
you like her because she's lovely.
Yes.
So, Chef, what what sort of chefing did you do? Was it for a restaurant? Was it for
Well, my
like
last few
hostel
stints were I was a restaurant chef when I started, and I did white tablecloth, did a lot of fine dining, and then I went over to I joined the food service side of it, and I was cooking executive dining, and I was doing some big corporations and just feeding them. And then I went from that. My wife's a teacher, and my last job was at a school, and it was the only school I ever worked at. It was an all-girls high school, and I fed 600 high school girls every day. And I started.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But the food, I wasn't supposed to cook anymore because I had 2 carpal tunnel surgeries in my right hand and one on my left. And but the food was so bad, I just couldn't sit at the desk. Had to go back in and start cooking, and started making chicken marsala, sushi, stir fries. So the salad bar took a nice big upswing to really fresh and with grains on it, quinoa and tabbouleh, and we'd be making different things. So taught them to eat a much better way.
That's so good. Well, I'm gonna have to sign out, guys. I'm gonna go into my shop now and do a bit of organic shopping and fill my fridge in the back of my car because I'm 40 minutes away from where I live. So I've even got to have a fridge in my car. So it's been really cool. I've loved to have met you, Chef Dennis. I've seen you around on Blab, so I'm following you now. And good to see you again, Vin. It's been a little while. I've been a bit quiet. So, Marg, thank you so much, and I'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks, Kathleen.
No worries.
Thanks for popping in and sharing your wisdom there.
Bye.
Terrific. Thank you. Ta-da. Lots of love. And we have a question from Sean. Sean, do you want to pop in at all and we can have a chat? The question Sean's asked, here we go. Good on you. How to lose weight without exercise. A double amputee and finds it very hard to walk and can't run.
Sorry, just to jump in to answer the question, I was actually on Google Plus, which is where I met Chef Dennis. So every day I go to Google Plus, I look at my notifications. There's all of these fantastic food photos from Chef Dennis of things that he's made. But I also follow another guy, his name escapes me at the moment, but he said, just this morning I read this, he said that he was surprised how easy it was for him to lose weight. He started getting a little bit overweight, and he just had this idea. He said, I normally feel like a snack in mid-afternoon. So instead of eating all my lunch and then having a snack in mid-afternoon, I'm going to halve my lunch, only eat half of it at lunchtime. And then in the mid-afternoon, when I have my snack, I'm going to eat the rest of it. And he did that for his breakfast as well. And he said within a few months, he had lost a lot of weight. And he was surprised at how easy it was just by halving his 2 meals.
So just by eating a little bit, so not doing 4 or 5 meals a day, snacking all day and eating, but he just ate a little bit out of 2 meals, you're saying?
Yeah, so he'd just chop his breakfast in half and eat the other half halfway through the morning. He'd then chop his lunch in half and eat the second half halfway through the afternoon. So he was actually really eating 4 meals instead of 2 for breakfast and lunch, but they were half the size. So he just spread it out.
Because
cutting down,
because I'm not a big eater. I mean, I know I should eat breakfast, but I don't eat breakfast. Sometimes I don't eat lunch. Maybe I'll just eat once a day, but yet the weight is not falling off as quickly. I was pretty much laid up for 3 years, unable to move. I was stuck in bed for 3 years. So I'm just now kind of becoming active again, but I would like to lose before I'm getting married next June, and I'm hoping to drop about 70 pounds. But I try to walk, but right now with my leg learning how to walk at 42 again, it's been a little bit scary because of the mind game. Something like the brain, guys, how I can explain it, maybe it'll sound weird, but the brain does not realize my leg is gone. So when the brain senses I'm ready to stand, it sends a signal to the limb saying, get ready, but the leg doesn't respond back. So it keeps on firing these signals until eventually what happens, the phantom pain gets so intense, I can't even move. If that makes sense.
Well, anyone have any ideas?
I know.
I would.
Drinking more water. I know. Drinking lots of water. I know is a good idea.
Well, I went on a diet that worked for me, and it was a GHC. I think it was GHC or HCC diet. I can never get the letters right, but it was a supplement I took, and I went to 500 calories a day was what I ate, and the supplement, after the first few days of being really hungry all the time, kind of evened out your body, and you started to burn. And I was burning 2,500 calories a day just of body fat, and that was without any exercise. I didn't exercise at all. It was just a matter of eating these specific items. You couldn't mix them. You couldn't add to them. I had 2 apples a day. I had like 3 ounces of chicken twice a day, and a cup of cooked greens twice a day, and that was it. And then a lot of water. But the weight just started. I mean, it came in 5 weeks. I had lost 45 pounds.
And
Wow.
you said you kept it to about 500 calories a day.
Yeah, but you can't do it. That's a starvation diet. And the one thing about this diet was what they gave you was kind of targeted the fat to burn exactly off the areas where you were storing it. So if you just went on a 500 calorie diet, you'd start to lose muscle tissue. You'd start to lose other things. But with this system, and it's been around since the 50s, and they go back and forth with it's good for you, it's bad for you, but no one can really say it's bad for you. All these people have had great success with it. And I don't think anybody's really died from it or anything. So, it's not like some of these diets that are crazy, but this substance they give you kind of makes you create more of your own hormones, body hormones. And it just kind of burns the fat off. Because, I felt after a while, I was still a little hungry from time to time. But after a while, I just started feeling a lot better being on it. They gave me a shot of B12 once a week for energy while I was on it. And that was it. And
I'm no dietitian, but the fact that you don't eat a breakfast or lunch worries me. And I would suggest that this is a possibility that your metabolism has slowed down a lot because there's no food. And so it's not got to do any work. So your metabolism has slowed down, and you don't want that. You want your metabolism to speed up. And the way you would do that is by eating food. Yeah. And so maybe in the example I gave before, that's what's actually happening. The guy's metabolism is running constantly because he's split his meals up and he's eating, and his body says, "Oh, I've got more food. I've got to keep my metabolism up high to work through this." So maybe you could lose weight by actually introducing those 2 foods back into your diet, those 2 meals.
Because I did speak.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's. I was going to pick up on that as well. It's generally recommended that to get a better metabolic rate, that you do have breakfast, because when people skip breakfast or go for long periods of time without food, the body begins to store the food that you do take as excess fat for times to get through those periods where there's little food coming into the body. And so it has some fat reserves to draw on. So for people with that, wanting to get a better metabolic rate, it is better to have, food more frequently, smaller amounts more frequently, to keep the body, exactly as you said, Ben, to keep the metabolism working, rather than going into sleep mode and saving mode. Yeah. So I think we've lost Sean for some reason. I was going to ask him, I didn't know which limbs he had missing. I didn't know if it's the legs. I kind of assumed that to begin with, but I thought, well, it may not be the legs.
I think it was one leg, one arm, but I'm just guessing. It was just that he said he had difficulty with that one leg, and he said he had 2 limbs missing, so maybe the other one.
Yeah, I missed, for some reason, I couldn't get the sound when he was talking.
for
Well,
a
guys,
while.
this has been great, but it's a little late here now in the States, so I'm going to head off to bed. It's only
Well, what time
10:30,
is
but
it,
I'm not a night
Chef?
owl anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, my pleasure.
Well, thanks for popping in. We're coming to the end anyway because this is coming up to the hour for the blab for us.
Oh,
So thanks for popping in. Yeah.
No,
Yeah. Sorry,
Well,
what part
now
of
I'm
the
in
States are
Florida.
you
I'm in
from there?
Orlando. I had lived in the Philadelphia region
Okay.
for a long, long time, but we moved down to Orlando 2 years ago. So, yeah, just loving the sunshine.
Beautiful. Yeah, Florida. Yeah,
Yes.
kind of nice.
All right. Well, thanks again for having me. I'll see you.
thanks so much for popping in at late notice, Chef. That was really
My
good.
pleasure. Bye-bye.
Yeah, good on you.
See ya.
Thank you. Okay. So, well, we might wind it up there now. Vin, have you got a final health tip for everyone?
Yeah, it's not really a health tip. It's more of a menu suggestion or a dessert item, actually.
Okay.
Well, I do have another one. Let food be your medicine, and medicine be your food. It is just the way I live my life, and I think everyone should. And it's just such a obvious thing to do. I think is to treat your food as medicine. So yeah, this is a really, really simple thing. People may have heard about chia seeds, but don't really know what to do with them. And this is something that I discovered. You just get 1 part chia seeds. That can be like a tablespoon. Put it into a cup and put in 2 parts juice. So if you use a tablespoon of chia seeds, put 2 tablespoons of juice in. Let it go. Let it sit there for half an hour. Mix it. Come and stir it with a spoon occasionally. And that, after half an hour, will be just like porridge. The chia seeds have soaked up all of that juice. And if you use something like apple juice, then it's not, it's a nice flavor as well. And you can just you could put a little bit of ice cream with that if you were really indulgent. But even by itself, it's a delicious meal. Chia seeds are really, really, really good for you. And it takes no effort. It doesn't, it's really, really simple. So I would try it if you haven't tried it.
I love it. I'm always looking for the quick ones because it seems that I'm often eating on the run, and I know that that's a no-no. We really should allow our bodies the time to take in the food and to digest, absorb it. But I know that people do live busy lives, and they are after, what can I do in an instant? Because, sometimes, many people in the workplace now skip lunches, or they have lunches at their work desk.
I actually used to take a jar of muesli. I used to make my own muesli. I loved it so much that I would take it to work with me, and I would eat muesli for lunch because it was so easy. I just pulled it out of my drawer.
It's either your sound or mine. It's dropping out every now and again. It's intermittent, so I'm not hearing it 100%. But so I'm not sure what my tip is. I think it might be, it's a big one though. It's our primary food, and this comes from like an integrative health presentation, that our primary food is actually the food, the aspects in our life that sustain us, like how happy are we, our relationships, how we relate to people, how comfortable we feel in ourselves. And if all of those are going well, then we're more likely to choose the food that we put into our mouths, and that's regarded as the secondary food. But if we don't get the primary food right, we'll probably lean on the secondary food, the food that we put into our mouths, for that comfort and that level to fill up the missing bits in our primary food life. So if we're struggling at work or relationships, we'll often, we might duck out or come home and then stuff our mouths to make up for the shortfall in the other parts of our lives. So I guess my tip is to encourage people to have a look at those primary aspects in your lives. Is everything working well for you, or what are the bits that aren't working so well for you, and try to get those working better, because that will then improve your relationship with food, the food that you put into your mouth. So I think that's my final tip.
That's an amazing
for today.
That
Like
is
I
a
said,
huge one, and we could do a whole show about that, because I was thinking about that when you mentioned it before, and I thought, you heard the term "feast for the eyes" or "a feast for sore eyes," and it made me think about all of the input. We have like 85% of our input is visual or something like that, and so that nourishment of the soul is everything we're seeing. We can nourish our soul with lots of good vision and good thoughts and good sound. And I think that's a really interesting concept and a topic that could be a great discussion.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks, Ben. Great to talk on food, and I haven't selected a topic for next week, but it will become evident over the next few days, and I hope people can join in next week on Wellbeing Weekly. So thanks for tuning in, and those that are watching the replay, I hope you've been able to gain some benefit from this conversation with Kathleen and Chef and Sean.